Trekking poles. Do you need them or do you not? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Jeff. Welcome to my channel, 14ers for Beginners. We're an ordinary guy like me that's trying to help ordinary folks such as yourselves get to the top of your first few 14ers. I hope the information in these videos are helpful. I hope they're inspirational. I hope you can make a successful go of your first 14ers. If this information is helpful, please hit like, hit subscribe. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to drop those in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you and to answer those as best I can. Well, I'll be honest, for me, trekking poles have been kind of an evolution for me, kind of a shift in my opinion over my years hiking. At first, I viewed them as pretty useless and just extra stuff to carry that I didn't want to carry. And I don't know if it's getting older and more fragile or more wise, I'm not sure, but I use them more now than I ever have. So why would we take poles? What is their purpose? Well, they have a number of purposes, whether it's stability, whether it's to help push up the mountain, or whether it's to help brace and kind of slow us down going down the mountain. They have a number of purposes, but really what they do is they distribute the task of walking. So it is not just a lower body activity, but distribute some of it to our upper body so that we're not as tired, we don't wear as fast, our joints aren't as worn because we're distributing the weight of ourselves out more. And so there's different kinds of poles and different ways we want to set them up, depending on whether you're going up the mountain or down the mountain. So just a few generalities to talk about. You can find poles that have these straps. I would really recommend that, so that they go around your wrists, and so if you happen to drop one or something, they don't go sliding away from you. These also help that if you set them up correctly, that they help distribute the weight back here too, and so you kind of have 3 points of contact on the pole as well. You have some that have these nice contoured grips, and others that don't have much contour at all. They're just a foam pad. And then some have these foam pads underneath, and some don't, like these don't here, whereas this one does. We have some that adjust, and some that fold and collapse up. I don't have any of those, but some kind of you pull them apart and they collapse together. As some of them adjust, some do so with twisting and extending, while others do so with more mechanisms, such as these, where it actually has a little flap that you pull out and then it adjusts here. Like I say, these twist, and so you twist it and then you extend it and twist it back and lock in. These have springs in them, so I can take and I can spring it together, whereas none of these others have springs in them. This is just a solid pole. They come with different tips, whether it's these with these kind of feet on them, these pads. You get the pads come off, and there's the more sharp metal tips. All of them come with little kind of directions on what the different purposes and different terrains are for you to use them. My general feeling, I tell you, these springs were nicer than I thought. When I first got them, I thought it was kind of an unnecessary feature, but man, they do help. They give a little of the spring especially as you're coming down the mountain, a little bit of brace, a little shock absorbers. One complaint I would have is these that twist sometimes can move on you, either suddenly or very gradually, and so you'll have two different height poles, whereas these that have the more locking mechanism, you can tighten the screw here, and so you can actually get them to where they're very tight and they won't move at all on you. I don't have a strong preference either way. These are the ones I generally hike with because I like the spring in them, but I don't have a strong recommendation either way. I do want to talk for a moment about height setup, is how you're going to set them up, because it does matter. Almost all the poles will have numbers either in inches or centimeters up the sides, so you can set them up, you can know where you're setting them at and go back to the same every time, and even make sure your two pairs are the same. So if you're going, the general rule is that you want your elbow to come come down and have a 90-degree angle and come straight out. That's the proper height for the poles. But this does depend a little bit if you're going uphill or downhill. If you're going uphill and you're using them to help you push up, you're probably going to want them a little shorter. So instead of at a right angle, you're just slightly lower, an inch or two lower, so that you can get up and grip and then help push through. Whereas if you're going downhill and now you're putting them out in front of you and it's sloping away from you, you're going to need a little more height, so you're going to want them just a shade taller. So this is the default setting. If you're going a pretty flat trail, this is where you'll want to be. But if you're going up, you want them a little shorter so you can get more push. If you're going down a little longer so you can brace. And then again, the grip, whether if you're going down, you may be a little more on top so that you're bracing yourself. If you're coming up, you're going to be gripping here, and how you push off and how all of this wraps around your wrist is going to make a difference. So if I was to make a recommendation for you going to climb your first few 14ers, should you invest in poles? If you have, let's say, a bad joint, a bad hip, a bad knee, if you're worried about not being strong enough to do this, and you feel like you're kind of on the edge of strong enough, it's not a bad idea. Borrow some from a friend, right? Not a bad idea. These are certainly not required. I would not tell you that these are required and you need to go buy them. I've climbed a lot of mountains and never used poles, or I've taken them and they've ridden in my bag the whole time because I just didn't want to mess with them. And so certainly they can be handy, they can be nice. Like I said, the older I get, the more I use them, especially coming down the mountains, but they are by no means required for what it is we're doing. Okay, hope this has been helpful. I hope you make a good decision with those. And as usual, I hope I see you at the top.